Welcome to the Planet MicroCap Showcase Virtual 2022. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and thank you for joining us. Now presenting at our event is Julia Stamberger. She's the CEO and co-founder of the Planting Hope Company. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you, MYLK on the TSX Venture and MYLKF on the OTCQB. And with that, Julia, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. Now it's a pleasure to be here. I am looking forward to telling you more about the Planting Hope Company and what we're up to in terms of creating the world's most nutritious and planet-friendly plant-based food and beverages. So we started this company back in 2016, and the inception was 4 of us co-founders coming together, all of whom had deep experience in the food and beverage industry, building and scaling fast growth food and beverage companies. And we created what is now the Planting Hope Company. We have 4 of the fastest growing food and beverage brands in the plant-based space in the largest categories in plant-based. Our Hope and Sesame Sesamemilk, our Mozaics Real Veggie Chips, our RightRice Veggie Rice, and our Veggicopia Veggie Snacks. All of these brands are in the market. They're established and they're scaling quickly with major retailers, distributors, and food service operators across North America, both the US and Canada. In fact, our products are currently in 9,700 doors and climbing. We expect to break 10,000 by the end of the year, and we have over 60,000 total distribution points for our goods. Our products are in major retailers with major impact. That includes folks like Whole Foods, Kroger, Sprouts, as well as the major distributors that are the channels to all of these retailers, as well as to food service. Places like UNFI, KeHE, and an important announcement over the last couple of months has been our introduction into Dot Foods, the largest redistributor in North America. We've had multiple successive quarters of record growth over the course of 2022. In fact, by April of this year, our revenues had exceeded those for all of fiscal year 2021, and we continue to see rapid growth ahead. So here's why we're doing what we're doing. Again, we all have deep experience in building food and beverage companies, and back in 2016, we spotted a very interesting new trend. Plant-based food products were starting to grow. Even legacy brands that have been around for a long time were seeing significant growth and activity. The question was, why? The answer, as it happened when we dug into the data, was not that the world was becoming vegans. We spotted a trend early that was the rise of the flexitarian. It sounds like a blockbuster movie title, but it simply means this. People are resoundingly making choices to consume more plant-based food. They're not abandoning animal proteins, not altogether, but they are making conscious choices to incorporate more plant-based food into their diet. And they're making these swaps at areas that make sense for them. Options that taste good, are very convenient, and are affordable. And that's where they're making the changes. So they may not be abandoning steak, for instance, but choosing to bring plant-based meat into their diet. These are swaps, not total replacements altogether. And the reasons for this span everything from nutrition concerns, so plant-based is better for me and my diet, health and wellness concerns, such as avoidance of allergens, intolerances, or products that cause inflammation, as well as concerns for the earth and sustainability. There's a perception that plant-based is often more sustainable than animal products. In fact, at this point, more than 50% of the planet identifies as flexitarian. And again, it's the simple precept that people are eating more plant-based and fewer animal proteins. So we took a look after we saw this trend at what the biggest categories were that were driving this. And the largest category by far is plant-based milk. Plant-based milk is a pantry staple at this point. 75% of the planet is intolerant to dairy and actually cannot access dairy milk very easily. Intolerances range everything from full-on allergies to stomach discomfort, and it's far more accelerated outside of the US. Plant milk is also used pervasively in cooking. In fact, plant-based milk represents something that the dairy industry has never been able to do, which is a sugar-free milk. So the largest category in the plant-based milk sector is actually unsweetened, which is no sugar whatsoever. all of dairy milk has lactose. Another very large segment, not surprisingly, is grains. Grains are, have always been plant-based, but folks are searching for ones that are more nutrient dense as they look to replace very nutritious animal proteins with plant proteins. More nutrition is required. Most plant proteins actually are not complete. Complete proteins, like all animal proteins, contain all 9 essential amino acids that the body requires but cannot make on its own and has to obtain for food. So the drive is actually for more nutritious grains, nutrient dense grains that are easier to prepare. And then we looked at snacks. Snacks have always been a very interesting area of growth in natural food as folks look for better for you alternatives for their snacking enjoyment and has gravitated towards cleaner ingredients and better ingredient labels. But the shift for convenience, especially with Gen X and millennials, or sorry, Gen Z and millennials, Gen Z is coming on snacking hard. In fact, snacking occupies a much larger proportion in snack foods of someone's diet than it might have 20 or 30 years ago. As a result, this on the go eating needs to be more nutrient dense in order for it to be function as food. It can't just be junk food anymore. You have to be able to get nutrition from your snacks. So, looking at these categories, we started with plant milk. We took a very hard look at plant milk and we found a giant gaping hole. Folks were gravitating towards plant milk because of the various reasons that we've discussed. Everything from allergens to intolerances to an interest in having products that are more sustainable. But the thing is that dairy milk has a lot of nutrition. The largest alternative milks in the plant-based sectors have very little nutrition. In fact, the largest player in non-dairy milk is almond milk. And a serving of almond milk has less than 1 gram of incomplete protein, as opposed to dairy's 8 grams of complete protein. It's basically almond water. Many of the plant-based milks also don't perform well in coffee. Because almond milk is similar to, almond water, it doesn't froth, foam, or steam well. It performs like water. Soy milk overwhelms the taste of the coffee. Oat milk came about when Oatly approached the coffee industry in the US in 2016 after they had many years of understanding how to effectively produce an enzymatically processed oat milk in Sweden. And their product performed extremely well in coffee. It froth foamed in steam, it didn't overwhelm the taste, and that's how oat milk went from nowhere to everywhere in a very short period of time. It was through the barista channel. But oat milks can't compete in that unsweetened category that's actually the largest segment of the grocery store. That enzymatic process that makes oat milks work very, very well from a texture and other performance standpoint also creates sugar. It's the same process that's used to process corn, where the result is high fructose corn syrup. Processing oats creates a maltose, which is a very high GI index sugar, about 105 on the GI index, as opposed to a can of Coke that's around 75. So most oat milks can't perform in the unsweetened category. And many plant milks are not very sustainable. In fact, not only does almond farming use a lot of water, it kills a lot of bees as a result of the pollination process. So, our proposition was as follows. What if we could develop a plant milk that is as nutritious as dairy milk, performs like a dream in coffee, has a great unsweetened product, and uses 95% less water than almond, and of course, is super delicious? So, that's what we did. The plant-based growth market is continuing to skyrocket. Looking at this, you can see that the plant-based growth in milk year over year continues to climb, and it's expected to further accelerate, especially on a global basis. 43% of households in the US now purchase plant-based milk, and that's continuing to grow. In fact, outside of the US, we see this accelerated. By far, the biggest segment in plant-based food is actually plant-based milk. It's 42% of the entire grocery category, and the largest segment of that is the almond section. With the cafes and food service channel, that adds another $3 billion to the total pie in the US alone for plant-based milks, and that's continuing to grow. So it's an enormous sector, and we found a key hole that sesame milk is going to fill. So, introducing our Hope and Sesame Sesamemilk. It was not easy to create sesame milk. It took us about 5 years of development. It took a seven-figure investment, but we got there in the end. We created a product that is extremely nutritious. In fact, sesame milk is nutritionally comparable to dairy milk with 8 grams of complete protein. It's a good source of vitamin D and calcium, and it's also very sustainable. In fact, sesame milk uses 95% less water than almond milk and 75% less than oat. And sesame does not require bees for pollination. The sesame seed is actually self pollinating. It thrives in arid climates with little rainfall, and it's naturally pest resistant. And took a lot of work, but sesame milk performs like dairy milk. We spent another couple of years after we perfected the core sesame milk to develop our barista product. And a barista product is simply formulated with buffers that help the plant milk to resist high acid coffees and froth, foam, steam, and create great latte art, just like dairy milk. And in fact, after releasing this product earlier this year, at the end of Q1, beginning of Q2, we've since received numerous awards from coffee industry associations, plant-based food associations, and even Good Housekeeping for the quality, taste, and performance of our sesame milk barista milk. Sesame milk also, and this is, one of the most important pieces, is delicious. It has a very complementary flavor to coffee. It tastes great in all sorts of things, and our chocolate hazelnut has been called drinkable Nutella, which, we'll take that. That's pretty delicious. But importantly, thus far, we are the only ones to successfully commercialize sesame milk worldwide. Sesame milk has received a lot of awards and a lot of press, and we see this as a trend that's coming on. Trend Spotters has started spotting sesame milk in late Q2 of last year. And since then, everybody from the Washington Post to Good Morning America to Forbes and most recently Fox and Friends has put it on the radar as an up and coming trend. Next year, you'll start to see sesame milk recognized as the new it plant-based milk. We're going from a trend to the new it milk. So with sesame milk, we have 7 core flavors. We have our unsweetened products, which compete directly against things like unsweetened almond milk in the grocery stores for home use applications primarily. And we also have our sweetened products, including our lightly sweetened barista milk. 7 of our products are available in shelf-stable containers, and we also have 3 refrigerated products. Those are required by retailers in order to be able to be merchandised in the refrigerated perimeter section of the grocery store. We consider sesame milk to be the plant milk superfecta. It's sustainable, it's delicious, it performs, and it's nutritious. And we're taking on the almond milk category with sesame milk. We're not interested in going head to head with oat. We think the oat's a great product. It has its own particular, universe where it performs extremely well. But almond milk is a weaker category, both from an area of nutrition as well as an area of sustainability. But, they are one of the few milks to be able to perform in that very large, very lucrative unsweetened category. And that's where we see a real opportunity. We have 3 other brands that are equally as innovative, have breakthrough food technology, and are positioned very well and uniquely within their space. RightRice Veggie Rice is a product that we acquired about a year ago. This is the only product that we've acquired and not innovated in-house. And RightRice Veggie Rice is extraordinarily interesting. It's a grain of rice that's made through a combination of rice and beans. Right rice is 90% veggies, and the combination of rice and beans together in a single grain actually provide a complete protein. In fact, right rice has over 10 grams of complete protein per serving, which is 3 to 4 times the amount of protein in white rice. Additionally, right rice has 40% fewer carbs than white rice and a low GI index, and it cooks up in 10 minutes. It's effectively a great alternative to white rice, cauliflower rice, or quinoa in any dish, and it serves up well both hot and cold. To that end, RightRice has been performing very well, not only at the grocery stores, but in food service, where it has tremendous opportunities. Right now, you can find Kava at numerous quick service restaurants in the US. Sorry, you can find RightRice at numerous quick service restaurants in the US, including Kava restaurants, Roti, and Mixed in San Francisco. From a grocery standpoint, it is well established in more than 7,000 doors. The product was just launched in 2019. We acquired it in January of 2022, and since then, we've integrated it well and continue to scale. Our Mozaics Real Veggie Chips we developed in-house. This is our answer to the veggie straw, if you will. Mosaics are a popped veggie chip with the number one ingredient is real veggies you can see. And there are a lot of snacks out there that are effectively cold French fries. This is a real pop chip that eats like a potato chip but delivers real nutrition from real veggies. And it's a guilt-free, low-calorie pop chip that has the veggies embedded inside the chip. So in the grocery category, things like veggie straws and the rest represent over $300 million in sales in the US alone. They're large, interesting categories that have real opportunities for products that not only taste great, but deliver on their nutrition promises. And mosaics are also packaged in a revolutionary new packaging film that is truly sustainable. Our neoplastic film actually biodegrades in any waste stream without special handling. And when processed in a landfill, will release a harvestable biogas that can be used as a clean energy source. Finally, our Veggicopia Veggie Snacks really provide an answer to that on the go snacking need. We've developed the ingredient and processing technology to be able to make single serving cups of hummus and other bean based dips taste delicious and as delicious as refrigerated dips, but with 24 months shelf life, shelf stable, no refrigeration required. Similarly, we have single serving bags of olives that are packed and processed right where they're grown in Greece and have very clean ingredients and are used as effectively an on the go snack. Both of these have large opportunities, not only in retail, where they're some of our top sellers in places like Amazon, but also in the food service markets for grab and go. This is a sampling of the retailers where we currently have distribution, quite a few in grocery, and you'll notice as well that we're starting to add Canadian names like Loblaws and Walmart Canada. This year, we committed to rolling out our key top SKUs in Canadian bilingual packaging. We started producing those in Q3, and in Q4, we started making announcements such as Loblaws taking on Hope and Sesame and Walmart Canada taking on RightRice in Canada. And we'll continue to expand there. But going into next year, a major focus for us is in food service. Food service is everything from sesame milk at baristas through to RightRice in quick service restaurants and fast casual restaurants, and scaling from there into corporate food service, business and industry food service, campus food service. There are enormous opportunities for these products there that scale very quickly and have great margin opportunities to help offset not only the development costs of grocery, but also they provide free marketing and advertising for our products and drive trial. I can't tell you the number of people since we bought RightRice who have told me, yes, I buy that every week now at Whole Foods. I discovered it at Cava. Our team has deep experience in developing and launching and growing food brands. And, here we're showcasing the C-suite and our board of directors who have experience across a lot of the organizations that we deal with directly, such as, UNFI, places like Dunkin' Donuts and Kroger, as well as in scaling brands, at this rapid growth curve. So experience taking brands from 100 million to 500 million or from 0 to 50 million. We have a lot of that direct experience across our team, including operational expertise in owning, scaling, and growing co-manufacturers. And we produce our products primarily through co-manufacturers where we have relationships across the country at the right places to produce our quality of products as well as distribute it efficiently. But behind this team, the board and the C-suite, there's also 20 individuals who also have substantial experience doing just this. In fact, at the director level and up within our company, the median level of experience in executing food and beverage products is 15 years. As mentioned, we are executing on that business plan. We have strong revenue growth and momentum behind us, and 3 consecutive record quarters of growth. We're on the path to hit about 12 million in revenue this year, up about 4x from last year's revenue of about 2.6 million. Our capitalization table is included here, and we're traded on the TSX-V as well as the OTCQB, and we're listed on the Frankfurt Exchange as well. And that, in a nutshell, is an overview of what we're up to at the Planning Hope Company, and I'd be happy to tell you more, get you samples, or answer any questions. Robert?
All right, Julia, thank you so much for your presentation here today. My first question for you, we did an interview not that long ago at an event, and your background really dovetails I think, well into what you have going on here at the Planning Hope Company. Can you give us a little bit more about your background and how you came to the Planning Hope Company?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I was brought into United Airlines about 20 years ago to help them to develop new revenue streams while they were in bankruptcy. And that involved both making investments in related industries that travelers would want to participate in, as well as creating new revenue streams inside of the airline that would help to offset the losses from ticketing revenue. Long story short, I created the airline snack box program as a way to solve some major operational issues for United. And to do that, to create a shelf stable meal that customers would accept as an alternative to a fresh salad or sandwich, I had to work with, frankly, hundreds of individual manufacturers who were specializing in better for you products to create what I was looking for, which is clean label ingredients with long shelf lives in small single serving packaging. And that's what got me launched into the heart of the food industry, and I've been there ever since.
Very good. Another point that you made in your presentation is that Sesamilk went from you basically said next year it's going to be a trend. I was curious, is what makes you think that?
So we've been at this industry a long time, and you kind of see the hallmarks in terms of where stuff starts getting buzz, where it starts getting picked up, and what the adoption is. And when we start talking to cafes who have adopted sesame milk, we hear a few things. First one is often they get rid of almond milk. We didn't expect that. But they're proud to bring in a product that is more sustainable, and that's a real concern, especially for independent cafes. And the taste also marries very well. Sesame is, right on trend in terms of an ingredient that's hitting it and becoming popular. You'll see more tahini in places. You'll see sesame in and on things and beverages, and that's really starting to hit its stride. But then we hear about the usage. And our early adopting cafes, once they start working with sesame milk, we're seeing it scale. We're getting orders that are bigger and bigger and bigger going through our distributors. And that tells us that things are sticky, they're hanging around, and that we have the opportunity, once we apply more capital, to get the product in front of as many baristas and independent cafes as possible and get it out in front of consumers. We focus in on the baristas because they're the ones that recommend products to their customers. They craft new drinks around beverages and products and trends that they find interesting, and they help to get it in front of people. And that's how, for instance, with oat milk, people started getting a taste for it. It was through the cafes, and then they went to the grocery stores and said, I want to buy it for home use. And we see something similar starting to happen here. It's early days, but it's certainly on track.
Absolutely. I mean, in what regions of the country have you started to see the most traction for your products?
New York Metro is really starting to heat up. We're going to be focusing on there and the Los Angeles market for development. No surprise, we see a lot of interest in the Pacific Northwest as well, because that's the heart of the coffee industry and market. And our hometown, Chicago, we have some great relationships with some of the top roasters that are bringing things on. But towns like Atlanta have a very developed coffee scene, and we're starting to see things grow around there. And then we're going into Canada through both Vancouver and Toronto, is where we're starting to see the growing interest in what we're doing and those new beverages. Often, the thing that's interesting about sesame is that it has a real flavor profile that resonates with cuisines and cultures worldwide. Anywhere that it's grown tends to have incorporated it in some way into this its cuisine, and it grows in a lot of hot, arid places. So places that also have cuisines locally that reflect that interest in sesame, Asian cuisine, Middle Eastern, etc., we find to be some of the early adopters in bringing it in.
Absolutely. All right. So another question I have for you, and I'm asking this to all the companies that are presenting here today. We're going through tough markets right now. What measures is the Planning Hope company taking to manage some of these macroeconomic pressures that are currently affecting most microcap companies across the board?
Well, that's one of the reasons we talk about our focus for next year really being in the food service market. Initially, we were focused on export for 2023, but we operate out of the U.S. even though we're enlisted in Canada, and the dollar is strong right now, and that makes it more prohibitive for us to export to some of the other countries that have interest. There's strong global interest in what we're producing, but we've taken that off the table in terms of a focus for 2023 and shifted towards the adoption in food service because that provides us with a couple of things. One of them is a lot of marketing eyeballs that don't cost us any money. Another one is, faster margins and return and large scale production. Something like one of our restaurant opportunities, they could absorb, 500,000 pounds of something like RightRice over the course of the year, with a couple hundred restaurants. So there's significant opportunities. And you may ask, why doesn't every consumer products company go into food service in that case? It's hard to do. First of all, the product has to be right time, right place. It has to be packaged for that. It has to have a reason to be. It has to be priced effectively. But most importantly, you have to be able to get onto the distribution trucks and to get the distributors involved. And that's why all of the news that we put out about distribution ads, everything from Baldur in New York to the Adecco relationship we have with the cafés, to the dot redistribution relationship. Those are critical and those are key to being able to execute in food service. And make no mistake, when you have products that work well there, that can scale a company faster than anything else in the food industry.
So my final question for you here today, before I let you go, from what you can tell us, looking ahead now to 2023, what
My
would
crystal ball.
yeah, of course.
Yep.
What would you say are some of the company's value catalysts that you really want folks to pay attention to?
So one of the things we're really focusing in now that we've set up the game board in terms of grocery is increasing our velocity. Velocity is the metric of number of units that scan through a register over the course of a period of time. It's how many things we sell per store, and that's one of the areas where we're going to be putting focus on is driving customers to the stores to buy the products. But it's also going to be some of the wins when it comes to fast casual, quick service restaurants, and barista ads. That's how we're gauging our success next year, is how quickly can we get into some of these outlets and start getting a larger presence in front of consumers, not only in the grocery stores. It is really, really expensive to market to consumers in the grocery store. Our goal is to be on their shopping list before they walk in the door, and that's our focus.
All right. Well, Julia, we're there. Thank you so much for your presentation, for answering a few of my questions. And to everyone watching, thank you very much for watching, engaging with us, and have a great rest of your conference. Julia, thank you again.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate being here.
Thank you.